everybody? It's Auston Holleman back with another video live from Kampala, Uganda. And we have the long-awaited interview here with the one and only O'Shea Duke Jackson, the guy that put me on YouTube. That he's probably the reason you found out about me. Would you go ahead and introduce everybody?
O'Shea Duke Jackson. I'm a big Auston Holleman fan. I'm trying to get his autograph, you know what I mean? But he don't want to give it to me. But that's how Dallas people do you when you're from Cali.
I'm not really from Dallas.
Where you from?
Fort Worth.
Oh, okay. Fort Worth.
Yeah.
Dallas, Fort Worth. Shout out to Dallas.
Almost the same.
Almost the same.
They're nearby. Culture's not the same, though.
Okay. So we glad to finally have you here, man.
Thank you. And thank you for everything you've done for me so far. So what made you come to Uganda?
You know, man, Idi Amin. Do you know who Idi Amin was?
No.
Idi Amin was an ex-president of Uganda, and he used to do a lot of some folks will call it crazy stuff. So they're Indians. You see them, and you've been to Kenya and
yeah, they're
Tanzania, everywhere. So the way that Indians have a foothold in the economy in Tanzania is how they used to have it here. It was even stronger in the 70s. So when he took the country over, he kicked all those people out.
How did he do that?
He just told them, if you don't get out, I'm gonna kill you in the 90 days, something like that.
Really?
Yeah. So when I heard his story, and then it was I think it was the King of Scotland. It was a movie that was pretty much played as him. I think it was Forrest Whitaker who did the movie. So I was looking to come to Africa, but just like you, I was looking for a place I could come, just with visa on arrival. So our people, African Americans, we from West Africa, but it was more difficult. Nigeria, Ghana, bank statement, all that stuff.
Very difficult.
So that's how I came. And so for the first few days, I didn't like it. I didn't know anybody. Then the last few days, I started to kind of find myself, around. And then when I went back I was in medical school at the time. I went back to Poland because I was just trying to get off my bucket list. But then I felt myself wanting to come back here. Even when I went to Brazil. Shout out to, Aaron Ferris, Black Male Travels.
Yeah.
He was a subscriber then. He wasn't on YouTube. So when I went to Brazil, he was telling me how to get around and, where to go. So I went there. And I was still thinking about this place. So I was in Rio wishing that I came back to Africa.
Really?
That's how much I liked being here. Yeah. So that's how
So that's kind of how Kenya is doing to me right now.
Okay.
When I was in Nairobi, I was thinking to myself, I don't ever have to go back to Brazil.
Why is that?
It was developed enough. It was more developed than Tanzania.
Yeah.
And most of the Asian countries I went to. And as far as dating wise, because that was my biggest part of Brazil, was how it was for me to date there. And they moved the way how they did, very, very similar to Brazil. Very, very similar. You about to ask me why?
Yeah, what's this? When you say similar, what do you mean by similar?
So by similar, I mean, I'm going to compare it to Tanzania. So in Tanzania, the women are very, very reserved. It's not so much that they're shy, they're reserved. So they could be really into you, but they won't pay you no attention because they expect you to come up to them. I'm not saying I expect a woman to come to me, but it is more exciting when you see somebody checking you out.
Okay.
And in Nairobi, if they like you, they're like a hawk. in Brazil, it's the same thing. They're like a hawk. They're just sitting back watching.
Right.
And there's no doubt when they talk to you, they smile. They're full of energy. They're fit. They all have that, nice little swag. They dress nice. It was just my speed overall. And that's why I started changing how I dressed, because the environment I got around, I was like, oh, okay, this is,
So you was dressing differently in Tanzania?
The majority of the time. But, okay, well, I switched in Tanzania the last week I was in Tanzania. And then I went to Nairobi, and I was like, okay, I'm glad I switched, because the way I had switched was perfect for where I was at.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
So you still picked Uganda over Rio?
Well, okay. So let me just say this, right? A lot of the brothers. Do you know about a guy named Charles Tyler?
Yes.
So Charles Tyler was a friend of mine's.
Yeah.
I was one of his first patrons. Unfortunately, he passed away. So when he passed away, I was on my way to Rio to meet him. This is before Aaron Ferris, Black Male Travels, Tailor Made Dreams. Those guys were subscribers. Me and him was on YouTube at the time. So I wanted to stay in Barra da Tijuca.
Yeah.
Right. So I think the Olympics was there or someplace like that at the time, or it just was there. So then you had a few brothers out there that was pushing the Brazil thing. But one of the problems that for me when I came to Brazil was living in Poland, English is better with the younger people, non-existent with older people almost. It was more or less Russian. So when you live in Poland, you have a lot of difficulty if you can't speak Polish. So that was a problem for me. And then going to Brazil where couldn't nobody speak English.
Nobody.
Almost, right? So that was, and having been in medical school and investing a lot of time, I didn't want to invest in any more time learning a new language at the time. So I felt like my opportunities in Brazil was very limited as far as wanting to be an entrepreneur or what I could do. And then, I also have a heart for the diaspora, right? And I know that the diaspora needed somebody like me to be here just to kind of open up the market and, bring people here, things like that. So I was more passionate about coming to Africa and setting up here versus being in Brazil where I don't feel like I would ever been able to really get a good shot to do a lot of great things like I'm doing here in Uganda.
It is very limited. It's
very limited.
So do you have citizenship here?
I do not have citizenship. I do have a work permit here. So I'm on my path to citizenship.
Okay, so what are the struggles? How long does that take actually first?
I think it's so my work permit is for 3 years, and then I think that you can file for citizenship after 6 years, something like that, 7 years.
Okay, so what are the struggles of living in Uganda?
Okay, so great question. So I would say in this particular country, because I haven't lived in Tanzania, but I have stayed in Kenya, your day is short in comparisons to what you can do like if you lived in Fort Worth or Dallas. If you live in Dallas, Fort Worth, any major city in America, you have all 24 hours in the day to achieve something.
Yes.
So you can go to the gym at a certain time. Electricity is not going to be cutting off and things like that. So traffic, this city is very congested in Kampala. So you find yourself on the back of the motorcycle like you had to come here. So now that is an issue because when you come to Africa, you can't do it. Like if I was to move from Sacramento to Fort Worth, I wouldn't know the culture of Fort Worth, but it is America. So I know that Bank of America is there. I know that Walmart is there. I know that Uber is there. These things that make me American makes me navigate the city. If I can't find my way there, I know that it's going to be easier for me. Mm-hmm. But when you come here, you need all the help you can get because everything's not on Google. So what you can do in a 24-hour day, you might be limited to what you can do in 10 hours. And then if you want to go to the gym, you need to make sure you be there at a certain time and come back and do the work. And then power might be out. And then you need to plan for a lot of different things depending on the business you run. So you're dealing with a shorter day and you're dealing with the fact that you can speak English, but the level of English you may speak may be too fast.
Correct.
People may not understand your English. And so you have to mitigate those circumstances because you're in a different environment that you just don't know. And I would be able to have that same experience. If I lived in London or Canada, I would still have, it's still easier for me because I kind of know this, I would know the system. But here, shorter day, you're depending on people to help you. You can get scammed, things like that. You're more vulnerable living here because you need people to help you out. You can't do it by yourself.
Do you still get scammed often?
Yeah, absolutely. When you get scammed, that's when that's a party, right? That's when you start celebrating. Not as much as I used to, but yes, you're going to get taken advantage of. Once you get scammed, it's like, woo, now we got that out the way because you're going to get fucking scammed. There's no doubt about it. It's just not a if, it's when. Yeah.
So you're celebrating the learning lesson?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So what was your worst learning lesson?
So there was a guy that told me in so many words, like if you give me $1,700, we're gonna let you come back to the resort and film your Pan-African dating show. This is like, yeah, we already been there before. So then, we don't know the dates now. Because I was asking the guy, can you just give me to the manager? Well, you can send the money to me. And the guy did something nice for me before, so I felt like, oh, okay, this is comfortable. And then you started to see it was a lot of hassle. a lot of middleman shit. And it just came to the point where it got so difficult. I just told the guy, man, listen, you just keep the money. It's okay. Because I know I wasn't getting anything from it. And that guy was also kind of tied to the government and things like that. So, yeah, it was, like I said, it was a learning experience. Because what I've learned here is this. When people want to approach you, let's say if I'm approaching Auston Holleman, then they can't do anything for me usually. They're looking for me to do something for them. And at the time, I was leaving myself open to be used by people who just couldn't help me just because of what their status was or who they may have known. But what happened is that person couldn't even make any opportunities for their own self. And now they're trying to make me believe they can do something for me. And that's typically how I used to get into a lot of problems. Like as far as people wasting my time, I would do projects for them in the studio for the free. And it would help them, but I would be left out to dry. Yeah, because people lie a lot in the private sector here.
So have you ever had any issues with like law enforcement or anything?
No.
Here?
No, never. Although people have lied and said I have, but that's not true.
Really?
Yeah, niggas always lying, man. They said things, you selling drugs there, you're molesting kids there. I heard things about me, you're trafficking kids there, all kind of, any big YouTuber would go through stuff like that.
Yeah, I would agree. Okay, so what about access to electronics? Like how easy is it to get your computers, these microphones and stuff like that here? Or is it asking for too much to get it here?
Well, I mean, there's certain shipping companies, like shout out to UG Unlocked, Paul over there. They help us. They give you a price and they cover everything. There's DHL Africa that, because here back in the States, we like FedEx and UPS a lot. DHL is not very big, but DHL is very big here and in Europe. So almost certainly if you're in Europe, because DHL was an American company that got sold to a German company. So in the European Union, DHL is God. So you would do a DHL. But primarily in Uganda, I use UG Unlock. There are other companies that are there. But I have an Amazon business account. So I would always suggest if you come to any part of Africa, before you leave, you need to get an Amazon business account. The reason is because you'll be shipping your stuff to a different address when you're not there. So if you have a regular Amazon account, they're going to cancel it for fraud, and you'll be trying to fight to, either call your credit card company to decline all the orders. And it's a hassle. I spent like a month doing that in 2020. So if you're ever going to move abroad, set up an Amazon business account for yourself so that you can ship to different addresses. Then if you're going to be in Ghana, Nigeria, whatever, it can be brought here and you don't have to worry about fraud claims and calling Amazon India all day and they transferring you, hanging up on you and all that kind of shit.
Wow, I didn't know that. Yeah, I'll do that as soon as I leave. I didn't know. I'll get an Amazon business account.
Yeah.
So would you recommend, who would you recommend come to Uganda?
So let me just say this. You have a big, I would assume, international audience, but you have a lot of black men that watch you, right?
Yes, mostly.
Okay. So here's what I would say. I see a lot of the brothers in the Passport Bros. I know you were formerly associated with Passport Bros. Some people would say you still there, or I don't know what's going on with
I would love to be a part of it, but after those news articles, they're writing their mistakes in my articles.
Okay. So what I would say is this: a lot of the brothers is going to places like Thailand, you were in Brazil, and things like that. And I think that when black men go to the DR, there's a brother, man, that's a very powerful brother in Dominican Republic, man. I gotta interview this guy. But shout out to the brother, I forgot his name. But I would say you have very limited ability for growth in the entrepreneurship role. I would say that because of the Africa that's here. A lot of the brothers just don't know about Africa.
They don't.
They don't know how diverse, if you're looking for, let's say if you like women that a certain look or size. I mean, you had a video with a Somalian lady that you went out to, congrats on that. I don't know nobody that did that in Kenya. You're the first person.
I got in trouble for that.
You did? Yeah, you always get into trouble.
I got in trouble for that. I got a lot, I got a lot of hate from that community.
They don't around either.
Yeah,
though.
and I was like, oh shit, I didn't even think about that.
They don't around. They cut heads off bodies, bro.
Yeah.
Shout out to y'all. I mean, so but you know, but like I said, but there's a lot of different variations of ladies you can deal with in Africa, just as beautiful as anywhere else. But another thing too is that we have a lot of relationships with these people in America. Some of us, we have Nigerian friends, we have Kenyan friends, Ugandan friends in America. So when brothers go to Thailand, brothers go to DR, you don't get accepted into the group of doing things because they don't think of you as a part of your natural origin. So I think there's a limit. Whereas if you look at what Tanzania is doing now with what they're talking about with their diaspora, their line of diaspora to come back, Ghana is doing that. We have a lot of success stories of African Americans doing great things in Africa. I'm one of them. So I would say a lot of the brothers out there that if you feel like you want to be a man, that's number one, and you want to be able to solve problems and build the community and connect the diaspora, which we are the biggest, one of the greatest diasporas on planet Earth. The Africa Free Trade Agreement is coming. I think that you should reconsider these other places and look at coming here. I think it's a great idea for a single man. I think it's a good idea for a married man. I think this is a great place. You get the pound for pound, bang for buck for your dollar. It's easy for you to do things as an American, I believe, in Kenya. You have a lot of opportunities to do stuff. And I don't think you would have those opportunities in Thailand. I don't think you'd have those opportunities in Brazil or Dominican Republic. I think you got a ceiling there. But here, I don't think you have, I know you don't have a ceiling in Africa.
Yeah. In places like Thailand and most of those Asian countries, they don't want you there based off how long they let you stay. Like
there you go.
Cambodia, I believe Laos, and I know for sure Cambodia and Vietnam, you can only stay 30 days at a time for the visa I had to get. And that's not like Tanzania and Rwanda where it's 90 days. 90. And it's multiple entry, so there's a huge difference. You can tell where you're getting more love at and where there's more opportunity.
Yeah, because they're going to look at us similar.
Yeah.
We might be from America, but they know who we are and they know our people, right? Yeah. So you're going to have more of a spiritual connection in Africa. And that's why it's easier for you to get into things and to do things. I don't think I would ever been able to build a team this great in Thailand.
No, absolutely not. No.
Or Poland. I mean, I lived in Poland. I love Poland. It was great. It was great. But I would probably dealing with a lot of Africans in Poland and not really Polish people. Although one of my best editors is Dima. He's from Russia. And things can happen. But I think on average, I was talking to a guy here. Shout out to Value Farm, Greg. This guy has 100 or 200 acres and he's growing goats on a commercial level, chickens in the commercial level, pigs on the commercial level. You can't do that in Thailand. No. You can do it here. So I think that if we talk about dating, there's plenty of opportunities or marriage. If you're talking about opportunities, talking about connecting the diaspora. Black people want to be in Africa a lot, or people on the fence. And it's a testament because you here, Wood and Maya was just here, Go Back to Africa was just here. So people want to come in and develop our mother continent. I think it's a great thing. I think black men should come in and get interested and get in the game.
So what do you think the future is for Africa in the next 5-10 years?
Well, I mean, I would say it's a great question. Man, you're a great interviewer, man.
It's all off the top of it.
So I think that the challenges that Africa is going to, as a continent, is going to experience is infrastructure, which is a problem, and corruption. So as you talked about in Tanzania, and Brazil has a problem with corruption, but it's not as widespread as what you would see in Africa. There's a lot of underdevelopment here. And because of corruption or because of, favoritism towards contracts, we're going to have an issue in the continent when the people coming back that things are not going to be up to standard from people like us who've lived in major cities. So then it's going to take people who can come in and establish systems, establish frameworks, establish communities. And for us, we never had to do that in America. Our forefathers did that in America in that time. But now most of us have, we have regular jobs. We have 401ks and then we come home. We're not in the phase of building something from the ground up, which is what you have to do when you're here. So that's a challenge because, Africa is getting larger. And the opportunities are there, but we don't have a lot of the skill set to monopolize those opportunities. So that's going to be an issue. But on the upside, Africa Free Trade Agreement is going to be the biggest trading bloc in the history of the world. It will be a $3.4 trillion trading bloc, meaning that you will be able to equally trade between Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, South Sudan, and it will be free trade between the continent and keeping a lot of money here in Africa, which will create jobs. And it's a great investment place. I think that in 5 to 10 years, you're just going to see a lot more great things happening as this diaspora is coming back and as diaspora is sending money back here. And things are going to be developing. People are bringing their skill sets here. You're going to see things getting better. I came here in 2015. In 2023, I couldn't do this business here in 2015, but I can do this business full time now in 2023. That is a sign of development. So the things is that Africa is getting better as a continent, but it may not be getting better as fast. But I think this is the new opportunity. This is the new, some would call it the new gold rush, but this is the opportunity for Black people, I think, to be on the greatest continent on planet Earth, to be able to reconnect, to do a lot of business if you want to do that, to be a man if you're a man, you want to have ownership of what you do. This is a perfect place. It's going to just get better. I think it's not going to get worse. It's getting better.
Yeah, I would call it the gold rush too, and you can see that based off the amount of Chinese and Indian people that are taking advantage of the opportunity here.
Yeah.
They're everywhere in the world right now, but they're for sure here from what I've seen.
Did you see them in Brazil?
That's one place I didn't see a lot of them. At least in Rio, Salvador, and Recife.
Why do you think you saw them there?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. But in Sao Paulo, they're there.
A lot?
Not a lot. Not like here. Not like Vietnam. Not like Cambodia. But I don't know. I thought about that. Why is it that they're not there?
Yeah.
They weren't like that in Colombia either, from what I've seen.
Yeah, because Colombia, they have rules of engagement for their people. So they're not going to allow foreigners to come in and do those things. Colombia made a great, and I know it's one of your favorite places, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. So in Africa, in Uganda, I would say there is a sort of issue with getting its skilled people back. Colombia had a bad reputation. What was the drug lord's name? This guy.
Pablo Escobar.
So that really messed Colombia up for years. Mm-hmm. But Colombia really got ahead of that. In Medellin, I heard the train system is great.
It's very modernized.
Very modern, but Bogota. Same thing with Rwanda. Rwanda had a bad press for years. Mm-hmm. And when you go to Rwanda, when you leave here, you'll see how great it is. So these countries are putting in stipulations for foreign investment, and they're doing a great job with those things. And that's why you see the place developing. It takes time. Mm-hmm. The issues that we have here is the money is there, but we're not reinvesting into the people to solve our problems. We have that problem in Black America. We have that problem in Africa. So we don't bring the people in. We don't train the people in to come in and solve the problems of the next generation. So you are going to be the future dentists and the future doctors and the future business people to solve the problems of X, Y, and Z community. The Colombians and those who are thinking with the mind in Latin America, they're bringing their people in to do that. So the Chinese can't come there. But in the Black world, we're so individualistic. We don't bring the people in to say, hey, you're going to be the next business class, and you're going to organize and train our people to bring them into, X, Y, and Z's future. So that's the issue that we have. And we don't have the talent. We haven't trained the talent to be the people that will come in and fill the gaps that we need. So this is why other people fill the gaps for us. And when they do, they take the profits back to where they're from instead of keeping the profits here or in Black America or wherever else.
Yeah.
So, and I think that once we start to really look at how we need to invest in the people that will lead us to the next generations, we're going to start to see more things happening rapidly. But we don't have that mindset like Colombians do. This is why Latin Americans in America are now saying we built this country. This is why you see it.
I've seen that.
And the African Americans is pissed. But their people are coming together to say, hey, this is what we do. And the African Americans, we're not doing that as much as we need to. So that's why we're facing the problems that we're facing. And that's why the Latinos are getting a lot of stuff from Democrats or Republicans, and the Blacks are not getting what those things because of our lack of participation in reinvesting into our people. So that problem is big here. So, we need to plug in and fill those gaps to get our people into the game, into the agricultural space, into the engineering space, healthcare space, and things like that, so that we can run our own stuff and be independent from the Chinese and other people like that.
Okay, so that was a good answer too. Last question: how hard is it for a Black American to assimilate in African culture, or at least Uganda? Yeah, Uganda. Let's say Ugandan culture.
I think number one, I cannot say I'm fully assimilated into Ugandan culture because Ugandan has many cultures. We're in the central region, which is probably one of the most known regions, East Africa and Buganda region. So I would say that I don't really, I haven't fully assimilated into Ugandan culture because of the complexity of it. What I would say is I've assimilated into being a person that is able to work with others. And in the central region here, there's people of all tribes. There's Nkole, or if it's Nkole, or if it's the Nilotic people. There's Luos here. Buchiga is here. People from Mbale is here. So I always try to add value and just try to be patient and understanding of things are different here. And I try to, when I say I'm going to do something, I try to do it. Or not do it, I make sure that I do it. And I try to be respectful of these people as I would be for the people that are back home. And once you can do that, people will respect you also, you know?
So what was your hardest part of, I guess, assimilating? What was the toughest thing you had to go through? Like,
I think the toughest thing, visiting, you don't really know. Yes. When you live here, I would say the biggest thing is you come to the mindset like I'm back home, I'm back in Africa. And one of the things is that you're trying to look out for these people and they're looking at you as not one of them.
Yes.
So I think that's the biggest diss to us as African Americans because we were taken from Africa through no fault of our own. And we're trying to come and reconnect with Africa. And we're looking at a group of people that we feel are our brothers and sisters. And many of them are not from the same mindset. And we're upset that they don't think the same way that we do. And we don't have the same mentality, especially towards like white people or things like that, or white Jesus. If we get into those deep conversations and they look like us and they have certain actions and activities like us, but then we'll find out very soon that we are not in the same mind frame about certain things. And that can be, some of us can look at them and say like some of that is selling out or buffooning. But then it just comes to realization that even in the business or in the private sector, these people didn't grow up like we did. We come from a different system of doing things. And we look at blackness in a different way than they look at blackness. And while that is disheartening, we have to try to be, instead of me criticizing how they may do things, let me get an understanding of how they grew up. And once I start to talk to them and I see what the mentality is, then I'm more understanding of why they are, how they are, and then they're more understanding of me. And then we can kind of get into a middle ground. And that's going to be a hard problem for a lot of African Americans coming here because you're going to look at them like, okay, I'm back here. I'm looking for my great reception. And then somebody might try to scam you. You've been looking out for them and you don't know that they got 10 family members back in their village that's depending on them. And, or a woman that got 10 people that's depending on her back in her village. And she can't go back home empty handed. So you don't know what they're going through and they don't know what you're going through. And so it's easy to fall out with somebody from here because you feel like, they don't understand you. And it comes with patience and maturity. And I think that, you got to be open, you got to be mature. And once you get that, you start to assimilate. You start to, even if you don't agree, you can understand.
You can understand, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's pretty much it on all I want to touch on today. Do you have anything else you want to say?
Yeah, man. I guess I didn't give as good as the interview as Mark Meets Africa, man. He had a great one.
You did?
Yeah.
This is good, too. This is really good.
So Mark, man, I'm trying to see if I can get you in the view counts today, man. But no, I'm just glad to get the brothers to come here. I've seen you since I saw your videos on TikTok. And I never thought we was going to meet. I was just like, I never thought like this nigga coming to know Uganda. And sure enough, you came. And I've seen your journey. I've seen you had to deal with a certain level of spite and things being misunderstood yourself. And man, you made a great comeback as a young man, especially when I thought maybe your life might have been in danger. But you've recovered, man, and you've kept going on strong. And I've seen you grow up, from into the young man you are today. You're getting better. You're not getting worse. So, man, you've been resilient, and it was hard maybe to stop the life you were living to do this. I see you and the way you speak things. You're more calm. You're not as you matured a lot. So I think it's great, man. I think you have a excellent opportunity as a young man, and you've. I mean, man, when I was like 23, I didn't leave the country till I was 34. But I think you're doing an excellent job, especially being in Africa. And that's crazy because you started off in Colombia and Brazil. And I'm seeing your videos, man, doing so good here, man. It's great to see that.
Yeah.
So
really good here.
So you think you're moving to Uganda or what?
I need a couple more days, but I know Kenya is on the list for sure.
Yeah,
Kenya's on the list, and Tanzania. Probably would do both.
Yeah. It's gonna be hard to beat. It's gonna be hard for us to beat those places, probably.
Yeah.
Don't get mad, Ugandans. But yeah. So man, thanks for coming to UG, and hopefully we'll see some of you brothers here soon.
Thank you. I'll see y'all in the next video.
Peace.